Hi, this is Ish, and today I want to talk to you about the power of acting as if. This is a very powerful law of attraction technique that you can use today. And by the way, all this information can be found in my new book called Understanding the Law of Attraction, which is now on Audible and Amazon as well. So, the technique of acting as if you have a certain goal, which is, let's just say a level 10, and you're currently at a level 7, so there's some gap between where you are right now and where you want to be. The technique involves actually embodying the same headspace of your desired reality as if it was coming true right now. So you'll take on the mindsets, behaviors, and lifestyles of someone who is at a 10, if your goal is at a 10, so that's at the same level. So if you think about it, if you have a goal in mind and you imagine that it's already coming true right now, what would you be doing on a daily basis? What are the types of places that you'll frequent daily? How would you move or speak around if you were that higher version of yourself? What possessions would you own? And actually take the steps to embody that and take that out right now. Because if you think about it, like energy can only attract like energy. The same kind of energy or environment that you're in will attract more of it. So winners will tend to win more and losers tend to lose a bit more. So you want to put yourself more in that upward trajectory of more success or whatever the reality that you're trying to achieve would be. So I'll give you an example of how I use the power of acting as if to manifest my reality. So when I first started teaching yoga a couple years ago, I only had about 2 to 4 students attend each of my classes. So I wasn't a well-known teacher at the time, and I had very small classes. And my goal was to teach a class of 25 to 30 students. So if you think about it, that's a huge number compared to what I was, teaching at the time. So I use the power of acting as if to almost pretend that I was teaching a class of 25 to 30 students. So what I would do is, the first thing I would do is I would set up a bunch of different mats on in the studio right before my class, and I would practice teaching to just a bigger group. So the placeholder mats were just set up across the room, and I had like 30 mats just set out, and no one was on it, by the way. So just 30 mats in the room, and I practiced just walking around the room and pretending as if I was speaking to 30 students as opposed to just 2 or 4, because I have all these extra mats. And I took on the behaviors of someone who would be teaching 25 to 30 students. So some of the things would having increased energy, because if you're teaching a class that is much bigger, you obviously need more energy, right? And then walking around the room a bit more often, because if you have a larger class, you want to make sure that all your students are getting your attention. And occasionally, like, my students would walk in a bit early to class, and they would just see all these extra mats, and they're just like, "What's going on? Why are all these mats here?" Right? And I just said, "Oh, I just taught a big class." So in my mind, there was no distinction between my current reality, which was only 2 to 4 students, and then my desired reality, which was up to 30 students. So in my mind, I actually closed the gap between the two. So I continued doing this, whenever I could. So practicing teaching to a larger class by having all these mats and walking around and doing all that. And what had happened was, eventually one of the main teachers was going to be leaving the studio. So she had some of her classes she offered for different teachers to substitute teach. And I actually ended up saying yes to that. So I ended up teaching her one of her classes, which had up to 30 students. And I actually did it very well because I had practiced, doing it like 10 times, right? And eventually the studio manager noticed how good my class was and how comfortable I felt teaching to a large class, and actually ended up offering me the position to take over that class permanently. So now I inherited that class basically, and I was teaching to a very large class. And on paper, it might seem illogical that I was able to handle teaching such a big class that was essentially 10 times bigger than what I was used to. But I was actually using the power of acting as if, so it felt like second nature to me, just because I had practiced teaching to a class of 30 people multiple times. So the power of acting as if is obviously very powerful, and it can be applied to many different situations. And as a musician, you can visit various concert halls, which are much larger than what you're normally used to playing at. And you can simply even just walk around very big venues and concert halls just to get in the same headspace of a very famous and accomplished musician, just so you can kind of get that same energy. And if you're looking to advance in your corporate career, you can try emulating the senior executives that you look up to and hope to get their position. So you can see how they dress and whether they're wearing a specific style of ties or dress shirts, and copy that. And you can even book an empty conference room and play mock speaking to your subordinates or people that report to you, just so you can kind of get in the same headspace. So when the time comes when you actually do get promoted, it becomes very natural and easy for you to adopt that headspace. And you can also use the power of acting as if to manifest a partner quicker. So for example, you can clean up your apartment, you can set dinner for two and actually have another wine glass set on the table for your specific partner. And even though your partners are not actually here in the present moment, by acting as if you are in that same headspace and doing all the things such as like cleaning up your apartment, especially if it's like a bachelor pad and super messy, if you do those things and you practice setting dinner for two and even having an imaginary conversation with that partner, what will happen is that although it does sound very crazy and like crazy that you're like having this imaginary scene, when that partner does arrive, it becomes much easier for you to have that conversation, build that relationship. And it also speeds up the process of you actually finding a partner, because you're now taking the steps that you would as if you've already had that partner in your life. So you can practice this method of acting as if and the power of acting as if, because just know that the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So if you can visualize the process of you having what you want right now and actually acting it out, it increases the odds of this of your desired reality actually coming true. So I hope this helps and you practice this technique out. Thank you.